feel that one.
You'll go pick them out for me.
Yes, got it.
That's it, bro. Okay.
Let me unmute the microphone. It's on mute. Move.
Hello, everybody.
Nobody's gonna hear us. Now.
Hello, everybody. It's the Rico and Rico show, starring Rico and Rico.
I was asked last week, or last time we were...
Hold the screen.
I am. Let me just put it up there. Just so we... Okay. And... there we go. Look good, Judy?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Move that over there. So what's going on, Rico?
Well, last time we had a Rico show, afterwards I had someone text me and ask me which one's Rico and which one's Rico. I said, well, I'm Rico and he's Rico. And they said, well, which one's the top billing? I said, oh, well, that's me.
Right. Rico, me.
Hola, mi amigos. Welcome.
Hola. Hola.
So, to kick
Hello,
off...
Tefik.
Here we go.
That's my young lad. Hello. Alessandro.
Konnichiwa. That's
What?
Japanese. That's Japanese.
Wow.
It means good day in Japan.
That's very good. That's
you.
very good.
It's for the Japanese viewers out there.
You know what we were going to talk about? A lot of people want to know about animation. You know, animation looks so simple and fun, which it is, very satisfying. But Mike has a story about Milk Call and what Milk Call has to say as far as, is animation hard or is it easy? Here is one of the master animators of all time, and Mike, tell him.
I was reading a lecture that was transcribed from like 1974 or 76. I guess it was at the Disney Studios or Cal Arts or something, and Milt Kahl was giving a lecture. And he mentions in his in the text, he said that animation is really, really difficult, and that he considered himself not that great of a draftsman, and that he would struggle like crazy just to get one good drawing. So even at that level,
It's incredible that he
hard to believe.
didn't think, but he was a character from what everybody says. He was a real character. But,
You read more about him personally than I have.
I mean, he obviously could draw
Yeah.
unbelievably, but I think he was so hard on himself. You know, I saw where there was a film made about the 9 Old Men's kids and growing up, being the kids of the 9 Old Men. And the daughter of Milk Call said he was one of a kind. You'd only meet him like once in a lifetime, somebody like him. But he was just so hard on himself. But he was an incredible draftsman.
Oh, yeah.
They all were.
Yeah.
You know, to be honest with you. So anyway, keep going. Keep going.
He just kept stating that he had to work really, really, really hard at it. And another thing he pointed out was that he wouldn't give up on something. He would just keep working it and working it until he figured out the best staging, the best way to, the best bit of business. That's why he thumbnailed the heck out of everything.
That's what I heard his biggest strength was his ability to focus and concentrate.
Oh, yeah, it comes through in his work.
And that, which is a lot of animation, because you're doing so much at one time,
Yeah.
drawing, timing, volume, everything. You got just so many things going on at one time. And
You're stating almost verbatim what he said in that interview.
Oh.
In that lecture. Yeah,
Really?
He mentioned all those things.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he says it's
oh.
unbelievable the amount of things you have to concentrate and think about. We're just here to bust the myth that a lot of people get into animation because they think, oh, it's easy, cartoonies, and that's why
Uh-huh.
that's why the classrooms start out with 28 or 30 people, and then it gets down to like 3 people at the end because
Exactly.
most people, and I'm generalizing, of course, but most people seem to think, oh, this is going to be a breeze, you know, and then they get in there and they're like, whoa, this is really tough.
Because
way tough.
because it looks it is fun and satisfying.
Oh, yeah.
But it looks simple when you watch it on the movie screen or on TV. Especially the full stuff. It's much. I don't think I've known an animator that really says, "Oh, it's a snap." I heard that Freddie Moore.
Oh, it came natural to him?
I heard that he could sit down. I don't know if it's true or not, but he could sit down, and if he was in the right frame of mind, as Frank Thomas said, he could say, "Oh, do," and sit there and make it seem, real simple. And he was a complete natural. But, we never know if that's true or not.
Well, here's another interesting thing. Have you ever seen Mr. Bug Goes to Town by the Fleischers? Or the insects in the
Oh,
sea?
yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful feature that the Fleischers did. I was listening to a documentary about the history of that studio, and it was just fascinating to hear what the studio was going through at the time, and when the film was released, it was bad timing and it didn't make as much money, or it wasn't as popular as they'd hoped, because I think it came out on December 7th during the Pearl Harbor bombing, so it's just nobody wanted to go see a bug movie,
That's pretty bad timing
Yeah,
right there.
it was just bad.
Right. That affected Disney, too, with Pinocchio. Hello, Judy! And then there's...
Is that our Judy?
Yeah, it's our Judy.
Oh, Judy.
Sir, can you make a character breakdown? I think. What a character breakdown is? Is that the question?
I can't read animating mocap. What does that say? Mocap?
So can you animate something today? Here, I'll do a demonstration, very loose stick figures of what a breakdown is. I know that people have a hard time with this whole breakdown method. Watch. And I'm just gonna we'll give this one long legs.
What is it in general that people seem to have trouble with breakdowns?
I think that as time goes on, what I'm realizing is they're putting too much thought into the terminology of breakdown and in between and everything.
The nomenclature of it all,
yeah.
Huh.
And you guys, it's just another drawing. So let's say we got this character here, and let's create another drawing.
Yeah, like you said last time, that they're all descriptive drawings except for the slow-ins and slow-outs, or the in-betweens, that are fine, minute,
right,
precision drawings, I guess you call them.
Exactly. So you really, I don't know why it just turned on. Hold on one sec, guys. Oh, there it is. Okay, but I do want to make that stronger so everyone can see it. Okay, so you guys, I hope you can see all this. We can see it on our monitor. So here's a character there. I'm going to do something really simple. This is a drawing, the starting drawing. And I'm just going to come over like this. I'm going to turn the head where it's a top view. Here's where the nose would be. Let me make a nose over there.
So you're making two extremes that you're going to add a breakdown to?
Yes, but you know what? Extremes. Just my main two drawings. You can call them extremes.
Or keys.
Keys.
Storytelling drawings, whatever.
Storytelling.
So many different words, right?
Yeah, but for the most part, you know, extremes. I was told about extremes, but then when I had a mentor, he always just called my first pass of keys. There's no difference. So let's call these keys or first pass of extremes. Okay, here's what we get. We got these two drawings, and that's it. Very simple movement. Come in there. Here's one way of putting a breakdown in. I'm deciding his head is going to follow this arc,
Dipping down.
dipping down. I'm going to change the gesture.
Change of shape is always desirable, right?
Change of shape is what gives it the feeling of life.
That vitality.
Yes, because that's how we move. If we don't change shapes, we look like robots, and that's what gives it the organic feel.
Right, it's real stiff if you don't.
Now this is one way. I'm going to go with the basic principles. Head goes down. I'm going to bring the arm way up here, just to exaggerate it.
Nice opposing movement.
To make right, and it's a counter action. Head goes down, arms go up, body goes down, knees bend. Let me turn this off. I'm going to bring this down more, and that's the other thing. I just made a video showing. I'll put what I think is correct the first time. If it doesn't work, I'll change it. That works better. So this is one way of working from pose A to pose, let's call it C. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean that. This is pose C, right there. And here's pose B. Now, let's say that we still want to work from pose A to pose C. But I don't like this one. I'm going to come in. Let's go up on the... I'm going to use another, what I would call breakdown drawing, another drawing to describe the action. I'll come up here, up, down. Doesn't mean it's the only way, just means it's another way. It goes up on his tiptoes.
Yeah, it all gets dictated by, number one, what's happening in the scene, and number two, the character's personality or attitude.
And that's the key. That's the key. It's who the character is. Is the character, what is it that's being asked for in the scene? And this is what makes animation so cool, is that you can do whatever you want. So this time, I'm going to bring the arms down that way. I'm going to drag the head, nose goes down there. And then he comes up and then over to there. Up and then over to there. And then if I came into there, I might say to myself, you know what? I'm going to have one more drawing as a cushion drawing. Just because I choose to. And it's going to follow up after this one.
After the extreme?
After the extreme.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just following it. This, remember, A and C were the ones that let me know where I'm going to be working in and out of and beyond if necessary. Do whatever it takes to make your scene better. Now put in a little, and look, hand-drawn animation, guys, it is, drawing is important with it. 3D, not as important, but it would help because you do thumbnails.
Yeah, the one thing that I noticed that still translates in CG is from 2D is the silhouette value of the character. even though the model is and the volumes are taken care of for you because it's a solid model that you move around like a puppet, but you still have to pose it properly to make the silhouette read clearly and what's going on, the action and the attitude.
Exactly. All the principles are the same.
Yeah.
You know, you guys, remember that, like in claymation, stop motion, it's all straight ahead. They don't get to do these keys, do they?
No, they don't. Not that I know of.
I mean, I thought maybe technology maybe changed something.
Well, there's a software where you can onion skin what you've got, so I guess you could do that.
More
but
so.
That doesn't seem very practical to me.
Yeah.
I would think straight ahead would still be the choice.
I think that's still the choice.
Yeah. Makes
so
sense.
remember, and they do beautiful work.
Oh yeah.
So there I just added another drawing and turn this off. Cushions in. So I showed you two different examples. Both of them will work. I hope that answers the questions. Anything else?
What does that say?
Oh, let's see.
Are you acknowledging what you did?
Guys, Judy here. So what are animating today? So what?
Reading this one just popped on.
Oh, do you consider antics overlap or breakdowns?
What's the question?
Do you consider anticipations overlap as a breakdown? I consider a breakdown. But that's my opinion. I consider a breakdown.
Oh, you mean what an anticipation is? It could be a break. It's a breakdown.
Yeah.
Because it anticipates.
Yeah.
It could even be treated as another extreme.
Exactly.
If you chart between the first extreme and the anticipation of the next extreme, then that would be another extreme in itself because it's showing the extreme movement, the anticipation before going to the next key frame thing. Pose.
That is why a lot of beginner animators start off straight ahead. It's I was told Frank Thomas worked straight ahead. I don't think he sat there and thought about this is a breakdown. You know, I think he just felt the animation as he was going through, and then he figured out what was, okay, so how many drawings are going to be in between the starting pose, antic, and then the transitional poses to get in from one to the other.
That's a good point that you said that you don't think that he consciously thought about breakdowns and extremes and stuff. Because when I first started out, I don't know if you had the same thing, but when you learn about extremes and breakdowns. That's all you're thinking about is what's my extreme, what's my breakdown, what's this, what's that. And then you after you do it so much, you just don't even think about that anymore. You're just like, I need to do this, and these are my descriptive drawings of what has to happen. I'm not thinking that this is a breakdown now that I'm going to do, and now that I'm going to do a breakdown, now I'm going to do another extreme. I just add whatever needs to be in the scene, pose-wise. They're all just poses, all of them.
Yeah, they're all just the drawings that describe what you're trying to relate to the scene. And if you're working in the studio system, you are going to be told what they want out of the scene. Basically, you're going to be told what you want out of the scene, but then it will be up to you to go back to your desk and execute it. Now, as far as the freedom that you have of what happens in it, that just matters who you're working with. If you're doing your own animation, your own scene, I would say it's totally up to you. And again, that's why I say, thumbnails are good just so you have an idea where you're going, especially in the beginning. Like what I did just now, all that is movement right there. I'm just trying to explain the whole breakdown thing because so many people are curious about it, but don't worry about it. Okay, let's see what else.
Yeah, it's like you just do a bunch of poses, whether they're extremes or breakdowns or whatever. They're all just poses. So you animate what needs to happen, and then you go back in and say, okay, this has to go to an assistant who's going to follow this up in a studio setting. So then you go back in and you flip through, or you roll through, or you scroll through your poses, and you figure out which ones are the extremes that you want to label, and then you create your charts and throw in your describe what's a breakdown, what isn't, label and number everything. Then they can follow it up because they can't read your mind about what's what. You got to make a chart.
Exactly, and what I'll say on that is, if you put your charts in after you animate, that's fine. That's your system. If you do it while you're animating and put in rough numbers in there, that's fine too. One thing you want to make sure of is that before you hand it off, you got your charts done. You got your drawings numbered. That is what you got to do. Mike and I were talking before about a person we worked with, great animator, great draftsman, would not number his drawings, and it wasn't very professional. It was really hard on the assistants when they got to try to follow up the animation. It's almost impossible. I don't even know how they did it. Oh, I'm sorry, guys.
Another thing that's a good tip about trying not to think about breakdowns and extremes and not to think about charts when you're animating is because when you start thinking about all that extra stuff, it's taking away your attention from what you're trying to do when you're animating. So you've got to focus and put all your attention on what you're trying to do with the performance. All that other stuff is just nomenclature, terminology, and things that have to happen afterwards, but you've got to first get that performance down. So that's my tip, is to concentrate on that first.
I agree. And also, if you get, let's say that timing. I saw someone wrote in here something about timing. Do timing.
I want to answer this question real quick. When is a good time to use straight ahead, and when is a good time to use pose to pose in animation or in their work? Well, straight ahead usually is good for flowing movement like dances, things like that. A dance move, that's good for straight ahead. And acting, where there's dialogue, that it's more pose to pose is the approach I would use for that.
Yes, right.
That's just a general, rule of thumb to go by.
I agree. Am I cramping you?
No. I'm just trying to get in here to read this. Who drew the cartoony drawing of you two that you used for the live stream thumbnail? That's you. You drew that.
Who did what?
Who drew the Rico and Rico caricatures?
Oh, yeah, I did that.
This person, Rajesh asks, hey, Wayne, can you explain about acting and performance, how to improve on your acting and performance?
Sure. Oh, it's Rajesh.
Yeah.
Buddy, you do thumbnails, man. There's just no other way around. Do not do it offhand. Whoever your character is, get familiar how to draw that character, and whatever the way the dialogue is delivered, you got to listen to it over and over. For instance, I say, I gotta go to the parts store and get a new headlight for my car. Okay, that's kind of a deadpan way of delivering it. But if you get someone, I gotta go to the parts store now, and now I gotta get a new headlight for my car. Okay, that has fluctuations into the delivery of the line. And we know who the character is. If you got a character as a grump, yeah, I gotta go to the parts store now, and I gotta go get a new headlight. Yeah, great, again.
They're annoyed.
They're annoyed. So you need to know within the storyboard and the storyline who the character is and what the character is thinking at that moment. And for me, I do not see how you can pull off a scene like that without doing little thumbnails just to show the attitude and where you can see, the irritation of the character.
Yeah, you have to interpret what's being performed in the dialogue. You have to have some kind of thumbnails of an interpretation of it, and work from there.
And I'll do something like this. This simple of a character. It matters who the character is, but I'll do a whole, not for every syllable, you do it in the phrasing, right?
Yeah, it's like the major points. Like if you, like you said, you have a sentence. One of our old animation teachers did a demonstration where it was really good, where he said, if you have a dialogue that goes, let's say, I have to pick up my car, like from the mechanics.
Right.
And if you put emphasis on different words, you say, I have to go pick up my car. You say, I have to go pick up my car. Or I have to go pick up my car. Or I have to go pick up my car. I have to go pick up my car. I have to go pick up my car. Or I have to go pick up my car. So there's all different ways of saying it. And that determines what you would accentuate in the thumbnails.
Exactly, because everybody delivers a piece of dialogue differently. And what Mike just said is sort of like music. You got your ups, what do you call that, dude?
Like accents.
Accents. So you got the phrase where it goes, I gotta go get it, or I gotta go get it. The get it is the strong accent.
It's an emphasis.
Before it was, I gotta go get it. That's, you look for moments like that, and you know that as you're listening to the dialogue, you're going to hear that phrasing, and you're going to know that's where you're going to be holding. You're going to be holding on if the word is, I gotta go get my car. You're going to be holding more on that. So you might just do in your thumbnails just one drawing of, I gotta go get my car, and you act it out within yourself, and, within yourself trying to be the character. For instance, you look at a guy like Frank Thomas. He animated Captain Hook and the Queen of Hearts and the stepmother in Cinderella. Cinderella. Really, just 3 different characters. And the way he animated them, he was like a method actor in a sense. He really got into who they were, and it's different style of animation. As far as the stepmother's very subtle, where Captain Hook was very cartoony, but still he was able to show his evilness, because he was evil.
I got 2 more tips on how to improve your performance / acting. One is to, I know a lot of people, the popular thing or the flavor of the day is to videotape yourself doing a performance with the dialogue running and then try to animate that. That's, to me, that's not necessary, because if you just have a mirror and act it out in front of a mirror, it's an immediate feedback right there, and you can go start doing your thumbnails or your poses. But if you have to videotape it, that means you got to go back, turn it off, play it back, watch it. It's like all these steps rather than just looking in the mirror, boom, you got it. You can just keep doing it over and over and over in the mirror. It's a fast feedback, so that helps improve with the acting as well.
It does, I agree.
And also, the second thing is to either watch live action performances in movies or television shows, or, even better yet, observe people from life like you're from another world. Like, really observe them, you know?
That is the key right there. Watch people. Watch your family members. You know them inside and out. And watch their little traits that make them who they are.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend, like, if you're having dinner at the table and your family members or a friend is with you and you're sitting, like, staring and looking at them like, oh, what are they doing? What are they doing? It's going to freak them out. You got to just be aware of what they're doing. You know, don't sit there and look at them like they're in a zoo.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that.
I mean, if you go to the mall and you start staring at people, they might call the security on you or something.
No. Right?
But just, you know, yeah, you got to be hyper aware.
Unless it's a family member you can't stand him, you just irritate them, just stare at them. Make them uncomfortable, playing, joking. No, just be observant. That's kind of the job of any artist, visual artist, or an actor. You want to observe what people do, and no, Mike's right. You want to sit there and just stare at them. But you'll just notice certain things.
You know, I was just thinking I heard on the radio this morning somebody was talking, and they sounded exactly like Tom Decker. And I thought to myself, why do they sound like Tom Decker? It's because of the way they're speaking. He pauses at the same spots that they did. He puts his inflectuations in the same spot that they did, the same meter, the same timing in his delivery of when he talks naturally.
Oh, really?
And it was like, and even his accent, you know, he has a little bit of a Chicago accent still. And even that was coming through. I was like, this guy sounds exactly like Tom Decker. But that's an audio thing. That's not even a visual.
How do you know? Could have been Tom.
It wasn't him. Hi, Wayne. Can you explain about acting and performance, how to improve? Oh, that's the same one. What's that?
Who's that?
Oh, that's the same one, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so laughing.
Who drew the cart?
Yeah, we already covered those.
When is it good? You answered that one. Do you consider antic over that? Okay.
So tell us about the caricature that you did. Now, you didn't do that in 5 seconds. You took your time and you studied. Did you look at reference, or did you do it from your mind, or how did you do that caricature?
It took me about 30 seconds. No. Actually, I put on Instagram. I showed my first rough of it, and I know Rico so well that
yeah, you've seen this mug for so many years. He's burned in your memory.
It was the only thing with him that I had to figure out was his hair. He always had short hair, so yeah. I wasn't sure if he was gonna be a product of Woodstock or I like his hair long. How long did that take me? I'm sure it took me a couple hours, 3 hours maybe. I'm not. I worked on it off and on.
It looks great, man. You captured it. You nailed both of us, man.
I think. Well, me, I definitely know how to do me. I'm the easiest one I know. Thank you so much. Helps a lot. You're very welcome, Rajesh. What else, dude?
I'm trying to think of what Milt was talking
Oh
about.
yeah. Let's keep talking about how hard animation is.
Oh, yeah.
Not to discourage anybody.
No, it's just a reality.
Yeah, and really, I think why we're trying to hit on this subject is so you don't get discouraged and think that, oh man, I'm gonna be there. There was somebody that wrote, I'm not getting this, and they were putting themselves down, and I wrote back, I said, no, you got to be patient with it. It's one of the hardest art forms, I think. They're all hard, if you're passionate about it, but it's hard. And if a guy like Milt Call is saying how hard it is, or a guy like James Baxter, what was it? You told me this. Someone asked him, is it hard for you to animate?
Yeah, I think it was Clay Cadis in a podcast asked him flat out. He said, is animation tough for you, or is it a piece of cake? Is it easy now that you've been doing it for so long? He's like, no, man, it's hard. It's always been hard. It's still hard. It never gets easy. It gets easier, but it doesn't get easy.
Right. It gets easier, but every scene you get's going to be a little more difficult. You guys... Frank Thomas, from what I understand, he had a nervous breakdown.
3 times.
3 times?
3 different nervous breaks, from what I heard.
Oh, sweet Lord, really? Wow. I don't put I don't put myself into it that far. I'm not going to have a nervous breakdown. So. Okay.
Alessandro Giacomini asks, do you ever consider doing a joint project, such as a short movie?
No. I'm just playing. Too much work. No, I enjoy doing
with him. Joint project with him? Are you crazy? No.
This moody bastard.
Doing a project with him, you go stuna. No. If I couldn't think of anybody else, I'd rather do something. But no.
It's just, maybe when we were younger.
Yeah, maybe so.
It's just a lot of work with family. We just not enough time. You got to really have a lot of time. Maybe one day we'll do it.
It's always possible, yeah. I can't say no forever, but for now, it's not likely.
No.
But yeah, I've heard James Baxter has emphatically said that it's difficult. It's really difficult to animate. It's not easy at all. And Richard Williams has said many times how difficult animation is. And Milt Call just seals the deal. That's it. If those 3 guys say it's tough, it ain't easy.
Yeah. I'm telling you, the only person, and I don't even think it's true after all these years, they made it sound like, I'll tell you, the one thing about that illusion of life, I feel like, it made life very hunky-dory. When I first read that book, everything was Disneyfied, and...
Like roses and flowers.
Yeah, and, once you learn this, you learn that, and, everyone's... anyway, it's a lifetime art form, which is great. It's good. Every scene you get should be a challenge. And if it became super easy, like I've said before, what would be the point of doing it?
It'd be boring.
Yeah.
If it was super easy.
It'd be boring. So don't get frustrated, guys. Just all you gotta do is stick with it. Just stick with it.
That's one thing I wanted to mention today was the quote-unquote secrets of animation. Number one to me is relax. Have fun with it. Don't get stressed out, because it'll show in the work that you're stressed out. Number 2 is observe. Like we said, observe from life a lot. And number 3 is simplify. You got to simplify, like you were doing with the stick figures. So you got to simplify. If you look at the old animators' roughs, like from the olden days, it's all scribbly stuff like this. It's all simplified. And the last thing that I can think of is exaggerate. You're caricaturing reality. You're not copying reality.
Yes. That's a good point too. I remember one of the main things I remember when I read The Illusion of Life is when you're first learning and you create a pose, Was it push it twice as far?
Yeah, push it twice as far, at least.
Yeah.
And you'll be halfway there.
And you'll be about right. Even maybe push it more. Because it's hard when you're first doing it to realize how far to push the poses in animation. You want to push them further. Even if you're doing a straight character, you still want to even push those. I'm not saying as extreme as a Tex Avery film, but you still want to caricature. That was a big problem that Walt Disney had conveying to his animators was, I want them to believe in the characters, believe in these characters. So then the animators would do a scene that I guess I didn't see them, that felt more real, not much movement, and then Walt would go, "No, I want you to caricature it, push it." And what he meant was caricature the attitude, the movement, the acting, but make the characters believable as far as personality.
I have a true life story about that from the Animation Guild. Tom Decker and I took an animation class there with Claire Weeks, who was one of the animators on Tinkerbell.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the assignments was do a walk cycle. So Tom did a walk cycle. I can't remember. I think it was Obelix from Asterix, the cartoon, the big heavy guy. And he did a walk cycle, and he showed it up on the screen on the TV monitor. And I remember looking at it, and I was sitting next to Tom. I go, "Wow, that looks really good." It was really subtle, though. And then I looked at his drawings. I said, "Let me flip it." And I flipped the drawings, and they were really broad. They were really pushed. And I was like, "This is the same drawings?" And I looked at it, and I go, "Yeah, they're the same drawings that he shot, but they come across more subtle when they're moving. But they looked more exaggerated individually."
Right, because
it's some kind of phenomenon. I don't know how to explain that, but it's true.
It's because it goes by so quickly. When you're doing, I did, I don't know if you guys saw it, last week with Judy, we talked about smear drawings, and I put in those smear drawings. When you look at it at speed, you feel those drawings. You don't see them, but if you look at that individual smear drawing, you would think, "Oh man, you're not going to get away with that." And it's a field drawing, and a lot of drawings that are going from those main storytelling poses are the drawings that describe how they go in and out of it, and you're also feeling. Those are drawings that you feel the movement of how the characters go in and out, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it isn't necessarily seen as much as felt.
Yeah.
Like I did a golf swing thing that was really fast, where a character hits a golf ball. And if you look at the individual drawings, they're insanely exaggerated, really, really over the top, stretched and squashed and all this stuff. And then when you look at it at speed, it looks kind of normal.
Yeah.
Because it goes by so quick. It's the flow, I guess. It smooths it out, so it's not...
Well, it's like when you look at the Tex Avery films, I always go back to that because they're so extreme. But when you look at them at speed, they were comedy shorts, but you don't realize how extreme they made them. Let me see, do you ever consider, when learning anatomy for animation, do you think you have to master it and go all the way in the journey? No, I don't. I don't think you need to become an anatomical expert, even in an artistic sense, for animation. I tried that. I was even trying to learn the Latin words for all of them. I don't.
Freak.
Really wasted time. And
that sounds like something you try to do. I gotta learn all these Latin names.
My teacher was Glenn Vilpoon. He could sit up there without the model and put in and construct the whole human figure. I was like, that's what I gotta do. And then I started getting so into that, I actually forgot about my main desire was to be an animator, cartoon animator, character animator. And then I had to learn to simplify. I think what you need to do is to do a lot of figure drawing. Why? Because everyone's familiar with the figure, and the layman will know if you're off on drawing the figure. That's the main reason why. Then do a lot of animal drawings and do a lot of outdoor quick sketches of people walking, sitting in the park, playing volleyball, whatever it is, quick sketches. But as far as knowing anatomy to the degree like Frank Frazetta for animation, it wouldn't hurt. I'm just not bright enough to remember all that stuff. What do you think?
Well, anatomy studies have always been a separate endeavor for me. It's something that you can't not animate until you learn anatomy to the nth degree. You'll be waiting forever because it takes a lifetime to learn all this stuff, you know.
Exactly.
So it's a separate endeavor that you keep studying anatomy along with studying animation or doing animation. And what happens is you're gaining all this knowledge, this anatomical knowledge, and you draw upon what you know from drawing that and studying it, and you can put it into your work, in your animation. It fuels what you're trying to do. It's just a separate thing.
It kind of works through osmosis.
It creeps in, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just I still draw the figure. If I could, I would spend at least half an hour a day drawing it. But and I got my own shorthand of doing it. But the better you understand it, the easier that the drawing Donald Duck will be, or any character.
Yeah, because it makes it more solid of a drawing with that knowledge behind it.
Yeah.
In fact, as a side note, if I look at some animation that someone's done online, whether it's YouTube or Instagram or something, they post a pencil test, I can tell immediately if they have what their anatomical knowledge is just by looking at it. Go, oh, it's all noodly, so they don't necessarily know the structure of the arm and the shoulder and all that stuff, right?
Exactly. And
it shows.
And even if you're drawing an arm has a design like this, now, is that anatomically correct? No, it's a design, but it's solidified. And if you draw a lot of different things and that comes out like so, here's the body, but if you draw the figure, it's going to make it easier to draw something more stylized.
It's easier to develop a shorthand when you're animating when you have this anatomical knowledge already.
Yes.
And life drawing experience. It just helps you get in your eye-hand coordination.
And it's training your eye in the language of drawing. It trains your eye. And drawing everything else around you. Draw a camera, draw a pencil, draw your computer. Study perspective.
Composition.
Doesn't mean you need to be, planning a city planner where you're doing all this architectural.
Yeah, you don't have to learn architecture in great detail in order to get perspective.
Right, exactly.
Same kind of thing.
Exactly. You want it to all, I guess the thing is you all want it to focus on over to animation.
How it applies.
How it applies to animation.
Yeah, whether it's anatomy, perspective. I think composition is a good thing to study as well as anatomy, because when you're trying to stage and pose your character within the frame of the film or the frame of whatever, whether it's widescreen or, an old format, you got to know how you're going to stage and compose that character within that frame that you have to work with.
You do. And that, I study film, study the masters. What else we got up there?
The Woo says, speaking of that anatomy, mind taking a look at one of my little rough animation scenes. It's around 30-ish seconds, and I won't be butthurt if you decide not to.
Sure, we'll take a look, but we can't do it here, right?
No,
now,
you can
right?
just. I don't know, how would they send it to you that you can check it out?
Send it through one-on-one animation.
The YouTube channel, or
Yeah.
okay. I don't know how to do that, but I don't know how you send something via YouTube. I guess a link to the.
A link, right? Or just go to oneononeanimation@gmail.com. You can send it through there.
There you go.
But that's fine. Now look, everybody. We're not going to be looking at everybody's.
Right.
We just don't have time.
We're just trying to answer questions here and now.
Yeah.
And not look at stuff too much.
Wish we could.
Yeah, it would take too long, I think, to do all that.
Well, our wives would probably not approve. What else?
Yeah, so difficulty. Thumbnailing, we covered thumbnailing. Poses, breakdowns, in-betweens.
Yes. The thing to make clear, you guys, when I was showing you, we're looking at the character on the right. Just look at that character. If you create these poses, understand that if it's not looking correct when you play it at speed, which means 24 frames a second, that's what we're used to, that's film speed. If it's not looking right, go back into it and change it until it does look right. Don't feel like you're ever locked in to these drawings. That's why these drawings are loose and rough. It's because we're just trying to get down the footnote or shorthand of the animation of the character. Another thing, if you got a character, I don't know who this would be, but you know, you've got a character that is designed like that, and that's just the design of it. Everything's kind of boring, but that's the design of the character. That's when you get hired, it's designed like that. What you want to do is just get familiar, whatever that shorthand will be, of the character as this character would be moving. Let's say it is walking along. You want to just do a lot of drawings of your shorthand of what the character would be like. So there's my shorthand of that character. Maybe a hand right there. And that's how you do it. So whatever character you're stuck with or having to start off with, I used to go home, my sketchbook, or at the studio, I would draw that character over and over to figure out what those basic shapes are and how I'll be able to take that shape and keep it loose and have that plastic animated quality to it.
How to manipulate it, yeah.
Yeah, in a shorthand. That way you're not sitting there being stuck with working on the drawing so much. If you do enough of these drawings right there and get familiar with it, it makes life much easier.
That reminds me of a statement Frank Thomas made about Snow White. He said by the time they were finished animating on the entire feature of Snow White, they finally got used to the dwarves and how to make them look good, and the movie was over.
And that is true.
Done.
It is true. And then you draw the character so much, when you go to draw another character, it feels really awkward because you're so used to that one design you've drawn thousands of times during the year.
Yeah, one of the folks that are watching says, are the frames that are provided for a scene, if it's limited, do you ever wish for more frames? Oh boy, I have a good story about that.
Go.
When I was at Bear Animation, there was a scene of Pancho Pantera for this chocolate milk from Mexico. There was a scene that was 9 frames long, and I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to have this whole action play out within 9 frames? That's like a fraction of a second. That's not even half of a second that goes by. So how can I make it read? Well, I went to Dale and I asked him, I said, I don't know what to do. I've only got 9 frames. That's it. I need more frames to do something with it, to make it read. And he just said, well, let me try it. He did 9 drawings in 9 frames, and it was perfect. And he put everything in there. He put everything in that the character needed to do in the action. It was 9 drawings. Then I realized the value of 9 drawings. It's like you could do a lot with 9 drawings.
I went through the same thing on Cats Don't Dance. I had a scene. I animated it way too slow. The timing of it for the style of the film. And I remember when I showed it to the director, he was very cool, Mark Dindal. He was trying to be nice. He goes, well, actually, I need him to come in like, 3 frames here, 3 frames there. And I thought, characters can't move that fast. I learned a ton on that film, and that was they can move that fast. So the thing is, again, you can do whatever you want in animation.
Yeah, but if you're given a scene that's 9 frames, you got to stick to the 9 frames.
When you get an exposure sheet, it's on a beat, and it's a commercial, especially.
Yeah.
You got to do what that X sheet says.
Yeah, you've only got 30 seconds in some of these commercials, so some of those scenes are 9 frames or 10 frames long, or what have you.
And you can do it. That's the thing.
Another question is, how about going through an animation book, like studying all of the different walks in the Richard Williams book? Now, instead of doing that, which would take forever, what kind of advice would you give about walk cycles in the Richard Williams book? Any kind of enlightenment or anything you can pass along about that?
I tell you what, the great thing about it, he shows all these different types of walk cycles. The great thing about walk cycles is if you can't think of anything to animate, there's always a new walk cycle you can come up with. And it is endless, as Williams proves in that book.
Oh, yeah.
But to do every one of those walk cycles, that's man, hats off to you. I don't think you need to do every one of them. I think you'll learn a lot just by following his basic principle of starting off. He calls them passing positions, just contact up and down, follow through and all that, and then experiment. That's what's really cool about that book is he'll show you foreshortening, he'll reverse the up and down to make it a different kind of walk, he'll give it a double bounce, he'll give certain elements a double bounce, and then on the next step it has 1 bounce. It's experimentation, but I think doing walk cycles is, because it's endless, is one of the best exercises you can do. Because remember, you can do them in profile, 3/4 front view, and then a 3/4 back and a full back view. You can just so many variations. It helps you in your drawing, your timing, and if you got a big guy with little legs, it's obviously going to be different than a guy that's 7 foot tall and thin.
And little guy with big legs.
Little guy.
Another thing I want to expand on in that is a lot of animation teachers, for a beginning exercise, they always have students do walk cycles. I, however, do not recommend that unless the student feels comfortable with it, because it can be overwhelming really fast because there's a lot of things that you learn in a walk cycle. Like you said, you learn a lot of stuff, but it can be too much at once to try to, bite off and chew, because you've got overlap. You got to hook up into from the last pose to the beginning pose. That's quite a challenge sometimes, and you've got a lot of weight, and you've got the timing and the spacing and the volumes, everything you're watching, and in a walk cycle is not always easy.
No, walk cycles are one of the more difficult things, especially, no plastic. I don't know if you're there. I did show that walk cycle with the Lucy, that little girl, River Hose. Can't remember last time.
Uh-huh.
I haven't finished it yet, but I am going to finish it. But I hope that explained it. A walk cycle, to get the personality of the characters, one of the first things they do when they're starting out with a new series or new feature, to establish who the character is. And I've seen it go through like 10 different passes. Director will look at it. That's not really the attitude we want with her. Like Darla Dimple. I remember that was before I was there, but I heard they had to go through.
Oh yeah,
a couple
makes
of them
sense. One thing that I did, just for the heck of it, just as a learning experience, I tried to do a walk cycle in poses, like you do your extremes, right? Your contact drawings, and then I tried with the breakdowns with the passing pose and all that jazz. I tried it that way, and then I tried to do it straight ahead from the first contact all the way through to the next contact, just to see if I could hook it up.
Yeah.
And I failed like multiple times, but I learned a lot from doing that about what it takes to make it hook up and what you can and cannot get away with by doing it straight ahead.
But did it? Man, I can't do it straight ahead a walk cycle.
I if you're up to it, try it, because.
Did you do it? Did it pull
Well,
it
eventually, yeah, I made it
Oh, you
work,
did?
but it took forever. I mean, it was way harder to do it straight ahead than it was pose to pose, obviously, because pose to pose, you've got control over how it hooks up.
Yes.
Really obvious,
Yes.
But straight ahead, I tried. Like you said, it's not always necessary to do with the contact, then the contact, then the passing. You want to try it different sometimes.
Oh, no, that's true. I've started walk cycles with the up position.
Yeah, not the contact.
Not the contact, yeah.
It's always good to try things, try to break. There are certain rules that are helpful in animation, but if you try to break the rules, you'll learn just as much by breaking the rules as following the rules, because you'll see what does and does not work.
Yes.
Right away, you'll get it.
Definitely.
And you'll advance.
And then you're going to find that stuff that you were told, don't do this, and it's sort of like, well, it worked. So why not do it?
Right, that's why it's good to get a lot of different input from everybody.
How about going through an animated book, like studying? Oh, we did that one.
Yeah.
Are the frames that are provided for a scene...
Oh, that was the 9 frames thing.
Okay.
Also that person asks, are storyboard artists the ones who decide how many frames are needed? No, actually, it's the director, right? He times it. Either the director or the exposure sheet timer figures out how many frames. Usually the director does it in the action column.
Director gets the last word.
Yeah, for the timing. They say, like I had a scene in a Chuck Jones Roadrunner cartoon where he provided an exposure sheet, and on the side he had the actions written down that he wanted. He said, Coyote comes in, 5 frames. Coyote settles in, 12 frames. Then he hits the board, 9 frames or whatever. And he had all these different timings and how many frames it's going to take to do each part of the action within the whole scene.
Which is amazing. I've never worked with someone like that.
That's just experience.
They just know their timing. That's really incredible to be able.
He directed so many cartoons. He knew how he wanted it.
Even after all these years, I still can't. I got a roundabout idea, but I cannot sit there on an X sheet and go, okay, this is definitely going to be 12/4. It's just, that's incredible to me. That's a real master.
It's tough to nail it to the exact frames. However, when you think about it, you can get a roundabout idea by using a stopwatch. You know,
Mhm.
we learn
Well,
that.
and I recommend that in the beginning.
Yeah, you know, act something out. Use a stopwatch either on your phone or whatever you have to time it and see how long it takes to do the action, and that'll give you an idea how many frames it'll take. Or you can think to yourself, okay, if this character jumps in, doing a jump is not going to take 48 frames or 64 frames
Right.
or 3 frames. It's going to take maybe 5 to 8, maybe 6,
Right.
somewhere in there. And that's just from doing it. You know, you realize, well, it's not going to take 48 frames. It'll be too slow.
Yeah, way too slow.
Yeah, so you do have a roundabout idea.
And I tell you, having this digital setup, you're going to be able to learn timing so much faster because you can do it so quickly that you're going to get a feel for, you know, the way things move. I mean, a lot of times when I was on video, I'd put my stuff on 4s and 6s, unless I knew it was going to be a long hold. And that was just so it would give myself enough time to see the poses. I knew it wasn't going to be exactly right. But I did have an X sheet, and I did have a certain amount of time for this action to happen. And the surprising thing is when did you find that, Rico? When so you got an X sheet. It's 2.5 feet long.
Yeah.
Description says, you know, has to do this, 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 this. And then, okay, you looked at it, and then you thumbnail whatever your process is, and you animated it. It usually worked with the allotted time.
Yeah.
And I never, it was like, oh, okay, that works. I'd speed it up in certain sections or slow it down, but it usually works within that given time.
That is a great point about the X sheet and the length of everything, because if you encounter and you look at the length of a scene and the director describes what action they want to happen throughout that scene, and you do your pose test and you shoot it or you play it back and you look at it and you go, this is too much action happening in a short time. It's going by too fast. It feels rushed. So you have to go back to the director and say, look, this is not enough time. I need you to open up the scene more. I have to have more frames in order to get this to do what you want it to do. And they'll say, oh, okay, we'll see what we can do. We'll grab frames from here and that scene and this scene, and we'll add them to this scene to, you know, pad it a little bit more. But there's a story about Art Babbitt on The Country Cousin in The Illusion of Life, where he did this scene where the mouse wakes up and does all this stuff and yawns and goes through all this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's a short scene, and it went really fast. Blah, blah, blah. He went through all these poses. So he learned, you know, you've got to either edit out a lot of those actions and not have them go through all this bit of business within that scene, or just lengthen the scene, one or the other. But you can't fit it in all these poses.
Right. There's just not enough time. There's not enough time. But in commercials, it's really where you're stuck with. You kind of...
Oh, I love working on commercials because...
But you don't really get to say, hey, I need another foot.
No.
They're going to say, no, you don't get another foot.
Got to make it work.
Yeah.
Because it was already pre-planned and figured out ahead of time.
Exactly.
Yeah,
right.
You got to go with the flow
And plus,
there.
the client's paying a lot by the foot.
The graphic ranger says, whoops, here I am. He's a little late. He's here now. I believe that's Ken Roscos, right? Chime in if that's you, Ken. Let us know if you're the graphite ranger or graphic ranger.
Sort of let artists decide how many frames they need. Oh, we went through that one.
Yeah. You guys have any other questions, specific things that you wanted us to address? Or we can come up with something else.
Ooh, dead air.
I didn't bring a show and tell today. Doggone it.
I got plenty of books. Should we show and tell something?
What do you want to show?
Let's
Timing for animation? That's a different one. Right?
Let's show some drawings from Tex Avery. Show 'em.
Where's it? You get it. I don't want to knock anything
Slide
over.
in here. No. You roll it. It's behind you.
Oh, it's behind me. Oh.
No, I mean...
Oh, you mean move on? I gotcha. Here we go.
There we go.
Oh.
There we go. Which one?
The Graphite Ranger. Yes, that is Ken.
Hello, Ken.
How you doing, buddy? Ken runs the lab over at the Animation Guild. If you're a union member and you want to go over there, and they have access to all these different computers and software, you can go there and learn Photoshop if you want, learn how to use Maya, whatever. And Ken's there to kind of help, explain things if you hit a bump in the road or you're having trouble with learning an app. He's there. You check out on the Animation Guild site. I believe they have the hours that he's open. Let's see. You guys are the best. I learn a lot from your videos. Thanks a lot. Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, Wayne's the one who put up 107 videos, so yeah, take advantage of that stuff. The Graphite Ranger asks, is there a good chart that shows frames per foot? Oh, frames per foot. The only thing I know is that when Rico said, when you look at an X sheet, he said it's about 2.5 feet. He doesn't mean it's 2.5 feet long physically, like you measure with a yardstick. He means 2.5 feet in reference of what's a standard called in film. There was a thing called footage, and every foot of film is 16 frames long. That's what a foot of film is. That was just a standard that they had developed over the years. I don't know the story behind that, but
I don't either. I never knew how that came about. But sorry, I didn't explain that correctly.
No, that's cool. I mean, the two things I want to mention on that is when you're talking about speed or playback rates, 24 frames that goes by per second is usually this industry standard for film, and 16 frames per foot is a standard. Now for video, like in some television commercials we did in the 90s, it wasn't 24 frames a second, it was 30 frames a second. And we had to adjust our timing for that when we animated. I remember it took a little getting used to.
Mike knows more about that than me.
But we had to do that. I remember that. So is there a good chart for that? I don't know. I would Google image footage charts maybe, or frames per second or something, because some things are 60 frames a second for high res or something, or high IMAX or something is 60.
If I were you, I would just go with the 24 frames. That's still the standard.
That seems to be
Yeah.
a lot of projects I've worked on still.
Yeah.
It's still
And if it changes, it's just remember it's just that many frames per second.
right.
But man, 60 frames a second. Ooh, that's a lot of drawing.
That is a lot of drawings. You might want to go with Roger Ramjet on that one. Graphite Ranger asks, plus, when we can safely reopen, non-union students taking classes can also use the lab when it's safe, that is. Oh, that's good to know. So if you're not in the animation union or the guild, you can go take classes there. Of course, it's open to the public. And yeah, thanks, Ken, for mentioning that. You can go and you have access to the lab, which is cool if you're taking classes. That's a nice feature.
When do they think they're opening?
Ooh, that's a good question. Do you have any idea, Ken, when they might reopen the classes or the lab over at the guild? I haven't heard anything about that yet. Let's see. Hassan asks, I currently have Richard Williams' book and other books that you recommended, but I was wondering if these are enough to get an education for animation when learning on your own. Do you have any recommendation on that? Is that enough for if you're going to teach yourself, are those animation books that we mentioned enough, or would you recommend?
Yeah.
I'd say it's enough.
Yeah, I'd say it's enough. And, you got the internet where, you listen to us.
Yeah.
And there's so much out there. Richard Williams has videos that you can buy, and he explains it verbally, live or recorded.
Yeah, it's an accompaniment to his book. That's okay, Ken. He doesn't know when they're going to open.
Oh, okay.
Have you ever watched the movies that you worked on in the theater? And have you ever watched movies in the theater that you've worked on? And if so, how does it feel? You ever go to the movie theater and watch a movie you worked on? Like Cats Don't Dance or something?
I saw it for the studio when the studio went.
Only in studio screenings, but
Yeah.
not out in the public.
No.
Oh. Yeah, that's the thing about when you work on a movie, usually what happens is they have these periodic screenings throughout the production of the film. Like for Mermaid, for example, they screened it for us, so many times that when it came out in the movie theater, I didn't really need to go see it because I'd seen it like 50 times.
Yeah.
And you have dailies every day too. In the morning, they would have dailies, and you sit down and you watch everybody's scenes of what they did for that day or that week or whatever. And you get to see the movie that way as well. You get to see these scenes over and over and over and watch them develop and improve as they go along.
Exactly. And it's just sort of, you see it throughout the year and a half you're there.
Yeah.
And so when you go and see the premiere with the crew and everything, it's exciting.
Yeah, they usually have a wrap party where they screen the film when it's finished, so you don't have to go to the movie theater to watch it. But how do you feel when you see it? I have to tell you, when I first got to... Whoop.
Oh, thank you.
Who's
Who was
that?
it? Jake.
Hey, Jakers.
Thank you, Jakers.
Arigato, arigato.
Arigato, Jakers. Hello, Gemma.
Attaboy.
Thank you, boy. Thank you. Good
Nice
kid.
to have support, huh? So like I was saying, when I first went to the movie theater and saw my name on the credits for the first time, that was a thrill. I got a big kick out of that. And
I did too.
And it was cool. It's just unique. It's something you'd never done before. So yeah, it's fun. It's fun to see your name on the credits of these things.
You guys, I was trying to find. I can't find the Tex Avery book where it shows the extreme takes, and I thought that'd be fun to look at, but I don't know where I put it. Oh well.
Well, yeah, I would say
We
those
keep going.
all those books that we've. Gemma White says lots of hearts.
That's my Gemma.
Aw.
That's Jake's girlfriend.
Aw, isn't that nice? They're tuning in.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys. I'll pay it back, Jake.
Don't give him the money back. Keep it. No.
And then Gemma 490. Thank you, Gemma.
Oh, awesome. Ta-da!
Bravo, bravo.
Bravissimo. Yeah, it's. I think with those books that we mentioned, if you went through each one of those books and did all the exercises, my God, that's plenty of stuff to learn.
If you pull that off, you're going to learn a ton. I will say this. If you go through each of those exercises, you will learn an immense amount if you got the patience for it. Just don't burn yourself out on it. Main thing is to learn those principles. Learn those principles and apply those principles to whatever characters you come up with. Let's talk about that. You guys, a lot of people, they want to make films, which is fine if you want to be a filmmaker. If you want to learn animation, pure animation, you can do it with... You can do it with a character like that.
That reminds me.
If you want to learn just pure animation, but do have an attitude in it. Now, this is pure animation. If you want to learn as you're doing this, as far as understanding mechanics of walk cycle, any kind of mechanics or timing, you can do it with this. That is why in Richard Williams' book, he's got that standard character. I can't really remember. I think it's something, isn't it something like that?
Yeah, it's a very basic breakdown.
Yeah. And the reason he did that is because he is talking purely about animation. But once you understand all those principles of a character like that, or even like that if you decide, you're going to be able to apply it to the different characters that is handed to you through, when you get a job working in the studios.
Now that reminds me of something that a lot of people don't know about out there, and that is when Richard Williams was working on The Thief and the Cobbler, he hired Art Babbitt, who was one of the, not the Nine Old Men, but one of the guys that taught the Nine Old Men. So he was like old school. This guy did the evil queen in Snow White, and did a great performance. Anyway, Richard Williams hired him and had him give classes, lectures in the mornings, every morning at the studio, Richard's studio.
Mm-hmm.
And Art Babbitt would have all the animators do all these assignments, all these principles, but he would have them all do like stick figures. He didn't use characters because he wanted them to learn the pure principles. He didn't want them to get caught up in the drawing of I gotta make it look good or whatever. Just learn the principles, broken down to its most basic element.
That's right. I've seen pictures where he'd give lectures, and on the whiteboard it'd be stick figures.
And in fact, a lot of Richard's book is based on those Art Babbitt lectures. Because I've seen those lectures that were Richard made extensive notes, and it's like the same thing. It's what is in his book. He put a lot of that in his book, which is great. So you're getting a lot of Art Babbitt there. Maurizio asks, "Hi Wayne, I'm Maurizio."
Hey Maurizio.
You probably don't.
Of course I remember you. But thanks to the lessons I took with you, I found a job. Congratulations.
Oh, nice.
Got a job as a storyboarder. Thank you so much also for this channel. It's really an amazing resource. Very good, very good. I'm glad to hear that, dude. Cool. That makes me
It's
happy.
always good to hear students getting gigs,
Yeah.
Got a lot of students.
Yeah, he's good. He's good.
Another question is, can you guys briefly cover when to use straight ahead and when to use pose to pose? Briefly.
Action scenes, like you do it.
I would say generally and briefly, I would use straight ahead for action scenes, running, dancing, movements, jumping, things like that. And I would use pose to pose for acting scenes that are usually close up, where you've got the hands and the face and the head tilts and stuff going on. That's where you want to pose out all the different attitudes with the dialogue and stuff like that.
Yes, I would say that's the basic rule, I think, with most animators.
Yeah.
I tend to use more pose to pose, like if I had a dance scene, but understand, if I come up to a point to where the dance, when I say pose, just those extreme poses, but I will animate straight ahead within there to get more fluidity. But usually on action scenes, characters scrambling, running. It's
Fast actions.
fast actions.
Kind of have to be straight ahead.
Yeah.
They're usually on ones if it's fast.
Yeah, that's true
Like
too.
a scramble and stuff.
Let's see.
Son says Richard Williams booked a lot of great artists. Art Babbitt, Milt Kahl, Grim Natwick. Oh yeah, he had a lot of great artists working for him. Eric Goldberg and Dick Purdom and all kinds of people.
God bless Richard Williams, because
Ken Harris.
he wrote it all down. Then he became a master, and then he came out with that book, which is the greatest book. Maurizio, thank you, Maurizio, just donated.
All right.
Thank you, Maurizio. Thank
Grazie,
you,
grazie. Grazie.
Grazie. Thank you, Maurizio. Thank you very much. Look at him. Happy face. Thank you much.
Thank you so much.
What were we talking about?
I'm talking about Richard Williams and the walk cycles. And
I saw someone on Facebook who said, and last I saw, but that was about 2 years ago, that person was going through every single lesson that is in the book. And he was as I was watching him, I was on Facebook with him for about, it was probably 3 years ago. He was going through each one. Gotta say, no harm, no foul. If you go through it, all you're gonna do is learn more and more.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Maurizio. What does that say? Graphic Ranger.
I can't tell what that is. Looks like question marks.
Not sure what that is.
Maybe it's a typo. Maybe hit the keyboard accidentally. But yeah, no matter what you do, if you try something and you fail miserably in your own mind, you haven't failed because you learned something from that. You just can't really fail. You're always going forward no matter what you do. If you think it stinks or not. If you think, hey, that came out pretty good, it's like, yeah, you still learned something. And if it comes out really horrible, you're like, well, I learned not to do that again. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. Some of the best learning experiences are the things that you fail at because you know not to do it again.
Big
have you done 3D animation? Mike has.
Yes. Worked on 3 features in 3D.
What were they?
First one was Was it Lion Witch and the Wardrobe? No, it was Stuart Little Part 2. And then it was Lion Witch and the Wardrobe. And what was the third?
You worked on that.
Oh, Mighty Joe Young was the first
Joe
one. Sorry,
Young.
Mighty Joe Young was first. Then Stuart Little Part 2, and then Lion Witch and the Wardrobe. So 3 different features in 3D, using CG. And one of those, Rhythm and Hues, was the Lion Witch and the Wardrobe film. They used a proprietary software, so it was different than Maya. The other ones were using Maya, but we had to learn. They had actual classes where they drilled us and taught us how to use their specific software at Rhythm and Hues. That studio is no longer in existence, unfortunately. They closed, but they've been.
What was the studio that you had to? They set Mike up at a computer at his desk, and they said, "Here's the book. Learn how to do it."
That was it. That was on Mighty Joe Young, the first CG feature. Yeah.
I would have quit my first day. I couldn't have pulled that
The
off.
one thing that I had with me was a bottle of aspirin because I had such a headache. I kept eating aspirin all day.
I would have had a bottle of Jameson. Joking.
But yeah, it was not easy.
Oh, Graphic Ranger says sorry.
Yeah, he just hit the keyboard. Yeah, 3 features. I thought you did some 3D stuff from Maya.
I did. I learned. What's his name? Dan Hofstad?
T. Daniel Hofstad?
Yeah, T-Dan, right?
T-Dan,
Yeah, he taught, and it was about a month, and I learned the basics of it, and then I learned that I like to draw. It just wasn't for me. How can I improve my line weight?
I guess they want a demonstration of how you improve your line weight when you're drawing.
One of my favorite animators of all time, James Baxter. I'm not saying you shouldn't work on line weight. How do you improve on it? You do. Oh, that's awful. I haven't. It's just by practicing, doing this.
Practicing strokes.
Strokes, right. And I will tell you something. That's what I was really into. Rico will testify to this. I used to study Freddie Moore drawings, and I wanted to get his line weight so bad, and I would just sit there and do pages and pages of trying to figure out, get that line weight and everything. Problem with me is I've gotten older, a little shakier, but I saw James Baxter when he was working on Hunchback, and I saw his drawings and his lines were like this. He would etch them like that, and I thought, oh,
He'd scratch them out.
he'd scratch them like this, and that's just a shape. He would do that, and I remember when I saw him, and they were in the display, and I looked at it, and I thought to myself, oh my God, that's brilliant. Because if you got a line weight like this, and you're doing the same shape, and you're in there, and that's more of my line weight. This is what I'll do, because of just all the years, and I'll sit there and do that. This is much easier to clean up than that. And this is why Baxter came up with it, and I understood it when he did it. And so, as far as doing figure drawing and having that beautiful line weight, and if you want that beautiful line weight in your animation, which I still love, I love like Glenn Keane, even though he'll put in a real, even thicker than that, real thick line, but I love the organic feel of it. As far as that, I say you just practice. Fill in pages of short little ones, long ones, taper off, practice, and just do that over and over, and you're going to get better and better at it. I hope does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Dan Haskett gave us exercises like that, repetitive strokes in all different directions that you can possibly conceive of.
Yes.
Fill pages and pages and pages, and it just gets your hand used to going in these different movements in different directions, like out, forward, back, pulling in, curving to the left, curving to the right, swooping underneath, swooping over the top. All these different movements that you have to learn. Like when you're inking, it's the same kind of thing with a brush.
Exactly. Those inkers, man, do I respect them. I could never pull that off. I mean, they'll sit there, but they can slowly do it and keep it. See, mine gets all unsteady there. How they pull that off is just
practice. Yeah.
Well, no, I couldn't have done it.
Well, I mean, that's how they learn it. Yeah.
That is, but just practice that. And Dan Haskett, Mike brought up somebody. This guy, he's just not mentioned enough.
No, not even. Huh?
Never. And this guy,
weird.
He's
amazing.
Amazing. One of the best draftsmen I've ever seen. I do recommend go online, type his name in. He could draw clean with lines like this and have totally solidified characters. I don't care if I live to be 500 years old. I could never pull that off.
Dan Haskett is spelled Haskett if you want to Google search his images. Dan Haskett. Like Wayne said, what a draftsman. He did a lot of drawings on Mermaid that we were just drooling over. We used to watch, we'd go in his room while he was actually designing the characters for Mermaid. He did the early designs.
I wasn't there at that time, was he?
No, And I went into his room, and a friend of mine and I, we just asked, can we just watch you draw? And he says, yeah. He felt a little uncomfortable, but he let us watch him. And we were just watching him put it down, man. It was just like butter.
Oh, it was incredible. I worked with him on the Chipmunk back in the 80s when they had the new TV show.
You worked on that?
Uh-huh.
I didn't know
freelance on it.
No kidding.
That's how I started off.
Son of a gun.
And I would go over to the studio, and one of the main reasons I wanted it so bad because I knew he was boarding all the shows. Oh man, go in there, and he would show me his drawings, and it was just like Mike said, it was like butter. But the thing was, he put down these beautiful lines. Might put in a light line for head like this, but his drawings were so solidified it was like he saw the drawing on the blank piece of paper. Goldberg was so. Leonard is similar to them.
Yeah, they have amazing powers of visualization. They
Yeah.
see what they're going to draw on the paper or the surface or the screen before they draw it. And they're just filling it in, kind of a thing, like whatever's there in their imagination. They can see it.
Yeah, it's magical. Let's
Yeah,
see.
you watch them do that, and you're just astounded. It's beautiful. You have to always ask yourself, how did you do that?
What is it? Rest in peace.
Oh, rest in peace, Rhythm and Hues. That's Ken.
Oh.
Yeah, I hear you, brother.
Yeah.
You know that one thing about working in that studio?
Oh, Judy. Yes, Judy does. Well, Judy does everything. Judy does. She knows every application. She knows every software. She does 3D animation. She's like a Renaissance
That's a lot.
woman. Yeah, girl.
One thing I
You
have
know,
to mention
person.
about Rhythm and Hues was on break time, I'd walk through the halls, and the owner of the studio was a huge 2D fan, even though we did CG.
Yeah.
And he spent a lot of money on buying original Disney drawings, and he had a whole scene of Ratigan from Great Mouse Detective, and he had each drawing framed down the hallway, so you could walk down the hall and see each individual, watch the whole.
Oh,
flip
that was cool.
Around the corner and down the
Oh,
hallway.
really?
Yeah, and he had original drawings from Rite of Spring, from Fantasia, the dinosaurs and stuff, all framed. Everything was framed.
And he put them up there for display?
Yeah, he put them up in the hallway so people could admire that early work.
Wow.
There were even some really rare Looney Tunes, Warner Brothers drawings of Sylvester and stuff. That all that stuff was destroyed, but very little of it survived. And he had some of it. It must have cost a fortune to buy that stuff and frame it.
Oh, and he displayed it for everybody.
Yeah, he had it out for everybody to enjoy. I had some beautiful stuff of the horse from Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. Oh God, I used to look at those. They were near the lunch hall.
He had those up too?
Yeah, those are so nice.
Oh my God, that is cool.
Beautiful work. I just stare at them as long as I could absorb it. You know, oh, beautiful. That was much appreciated.
You know what, dude? We should come to a close here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's almost, it's been 2 hours.
2 hours. Crap, great, sure.
Thanks for the emojis.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining us. Everybody, thank you for, is that the tips? Mauricio, Jake,
Thanks for the
Gemma,
donations.
thank you for the donations. And thank you everyone else for joining us. We hope we're giving you information here that is beneficial to you. And we will see you in 2 weeks from now.
And I'll have a show and tell next time for sure.
And a show and tell next time for sure. Okay. Alrighty. Bye-bye. Say
Take care.
bye-bye, Rico.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Rico.
Bye-bye, Rico. Now I'm trying to get us up there. Oh, Judy's going to kill me. Why isn't it? I'm working on it, Judy. I know it is. I cannot find
The technical
Here,
buttons.
entertain them until
I'll do a soft shoe dance.
It's unbelievable. Why can't I?
Joseph, thanks again. You're welcome. You're more than welcome. I hope we help you guys out a lot. 5 stars from
Five
Graphic
star
Ranger.
from Graphic Ranger. Thank you.
Much
dude.
appreciated. Thank you.
There we go. It should be up there.
Enjoy. Have fun with it, you guys.
Bye bye, you guys. It's 3.